Proficiency, Unit 3, Learning Environments and Task Standard 3.
You around the student debrief. I'm going to ask you what patterns did you notice in your first problem. So what was the pattern? We're not going to talk. I'm just going to tell you the question. You and your elbow buddy can talk about it, and then we'll discuss it as a class. What was the pattern that we looked at in question 1? All right, and then based on this pattern, what do you think the answer is for a question that I'm going to write on the board? And then we're going to go on and we're going to talk about how did you solve the last question.
Okay, so
In question 1. All right, and then based on this pattern, what do you think the answer is for a question that I'm going to write on the board? And then we're going to go on and we're going to talk about how did you solve the last question.
Okay, so this is my introduction. What I chose to do for this video is to record the debrief. Because standard 3, the learning environment, that standard talks about the teacher works with others to create environments that support individual and collaborative learning and encourage positive social interaction, active engagement in learning, and self-motivation. Well, I believe this is best seen through a debrief. Normally sit my students in pairs. The pairs consist of a student that is above level and a student that is at or below level. I feel like through candid conversation and unpacking some of these standards that students will be able to best learn from each other. And then they are also using each other as a source of information and as a tool before they come to ask the teacher for help. This has allowed my higher level scholars to have a better understanding of content, and it has allowed my emerging scholars to have a resource other than a teacher and maybe a laptop to go to get a better understanding of the standard or the objective for today. I feel like collaborative learning is also seen through this because through these discussions with the debrief, the students are able to get a deeper understanding of what the objective was for today. It also encourages positive social interaction between the two students, and then the two students and the teacher, or the two students and the educator, or the two students and the para, or a group of students that are work together. Everyone is actively engaged in learning, and through conversations, I believe self-motivation is seen. You'll have some students that are shy or bashful that will collaborate with their classmates before they speak out in front of the whole class. So I actually like this setup. I'm gonna play a little bit more of the video so we can see this happen. I'm gonna actually fast
On this
forward
page,
it
was to take the pattern. Second
so you
question,
can see
only talking
the
about you
students
can begin
interact.
now. Thread. So we have 1/4 listed, and then you have 3/4. What's the next? What's 1 and 2/4 was 16.
8.
Okay.
And then after 16.
And these are
4.
just
Then we have what?
interacting.
12.
The young lady
8, and then what?
12.
And then what?
is the
16. Good.
higher level learner, and the young lady to the right is the emerging learner.
What we doing? We have to write the pattern. I know.
Now I want you to write it right on the page. So we're talking about patterns. So what would be the next pattern? 1/4 of 16 is 4, and then what? 2/4 of what?
2/4 of 16 is 8.
Okay, write it.
They just get cut about 4.
Oh,
I love these two young ladies right here. So Miss Allison is actually the above level learner, and Miss Green is actually the at level below level learner. They work really well together. I really like that Allison allows her to explain the answer. Miss Allison does understand that through communication with her, through deeper understanding, and that her explaining the answer, she's getting a lot more out of it. Um, it also plays into standard two learning differences. The teacher uses understanding of individual differences in diverse cultures and communities to ensure inclusive learning environments that enable each learner to meet high standards. So although Miss Green may struggle a little bit, she knows that Miss Allison is there and she knows that I am there. I'm usually coming to do CFUs. I'm usually to come and help Miss Allison out if she doesn't know. But most of the time Miss Green reaches out to Miss Allison for a better understanding of content, which I can really appreciate. And then I also see standard one learning development. Teacher understands how learners grow and develop, recognizing the patterns of learning and development vary individually within and across the content. Teacher understands how learners grow and develop, recognizing the patterns of learning and development vary individually within and across the content cognitive, linguistic, social, emotional, and physical areas, and design and implement development appropriate and challenging learning experience. So I do believe like through the use of extensions and through the use of each one teach one, that Miss Allison is actually gaining knowledge and this standard because not only is she able to do it, she is able to explain it on a higher level of thinking, and thus she has allowed Miss Green to better understand the fifth grade standard, and she has allowed Miss Green to be able to verbalize her understanding of the fifth grade standard. Which is exactly why I made partners that consist of somebody that is an emergent learner and somebody that's above grade level. I'll play it out for a little bit. This second question, the first part of the question is geared towards my emergent learners. The second part of the question is an extension question. It takes a little bit more math and computation to actually be able to formulate words that go along in answering the question. So I'm gonna fast forward the video a little bit so you can.
So that's the pattern. Skip count. Okay. Well, how do you know it's 8 without even doing 3/4 of 16 is 12. 4/4 of
Oh, this is
16
the
is.
these are the students reviewing the whole algorithm, the 1/4 of 16, to better understand what 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. So everything that's either one or less, uh, which is our first which is our first objective. The next lesson will deal with numbers between 1 and 2. So they have a solid foundation in the understanding of numbers that's one or less, which um actually came through and working in partners and working in their practice groups.
Good job. So what was the pattern? Is what Mr. Bradley came up with. Go ahead. So I'm going to explain because I know sometimes Mr. Bradley can be kind of shy, but I'm going to explain what he told me he did. He said that he knew he had 18 in all, right? So he took that 18 in all and took two of the rows, which the
I'm gonna just go back a little bit because I want to be able to.
I got 6, then I divide. I track 6 and 16. I got 12, then my 6 is, I ate 12 chocolate.
Good job. You
So Mr. Bradley is a scholar that has a speech impairment. Um, but I just want to say I'm so proud of him because in the last few months I saw him emerge, irregardless to his speech impairment. He excels at math, he understands math. He struggles a little bit with reading because of his impairment, but that doesn't impede his ability to want to learn and his ability to make mistakes and his ability to correct mistakes. Mr. Taylor sitting next to him. They are both above grade level, but I paired those two up because Mr. Taylor has a eloquence about the way he speaks. And so if Mr. Bradley is unable to formulate the words that he needs in order to answer the question, him and Mr. Taylor will then pick up the slack, but I don't let Mr. Taylor do it alone. I will also pick up some of the slack if he explains it to me. I can stand and wait as long as he needs me to in order for him to get his thought out, and then I can regurgitate that to the class. And I really think that goes into standard 7 and 8, but we'll come back to that because we're not there yet. I'm gonna let a little bit more.
It's a different pattern than everybody else, I think.
I did.
So I'm
Is
gonna,
what Mr. Bradley came up with. So I'm going to explain because I know sometimes Mr. Bradley can be kind of shy, but I'm going to explain what he told me.
so going back to standard 2, learning differences. I feel like Engage New York, Eureka Math, it plays a lot into giving students a different tool to answer questions. So if a student may feel comfortable using one tool, they do introduce students to a multitude of tools in order to find out the correct answer. Only thing Engage would like the student to do is attempt to try all of the tools that are given in any module. And after trying the tools towards the end, which is either the mid module assessment or ending module assessment, they can use whatever tool that they feel comfortable with. I do firmly believe that plays into learning standard 2. It recognizes that students have differences, they have strengths and weaknesses, and they allow students to choose the strength and the avenue that they use in order to figure out the answer. Whatever avenue they choose, they make sure they have a deep understanding of all of the algorithms that go along with it so they can have success.
He did. He said that he knew he gave us which was pictorial representation. Us how our roles will be evenly distributed. Now, in our problem, our denominator is what? Absolutely, good job. I'm going to collect what you have, and then we'll start Fun Friday.
All right, so Fun Friday is a activity that we have every Friday for like the last hour and a half. As you can see, my kids are getting fidgety because they know that Fun Friday is I have ran over with my lesson and Fun Friday was already supposed to start. And I think this plays directly into standard 3 learning environment. Um, in order to participate in Fun Friday, you have to meet the cultural goals and the academic goals. One of the cultural goals is that you have to have adequate behavior that's being tracked by our dean. So we have a dean in our classroom. Everyone in our classroom has a job in our community. Our dean is actually the one that tracks behavior and behavior points. Our school does give out merits and demerits, and that is tracked by the dean. We also track we also track academic goals, which our academic goals for the month of May is for students to turn in 4 or more homework assignments, and then that will allow you to participate in Fun Friday. We do have the opposite room for Fun Friday is a study hall. So if you were unable to meet the expectations for Fun Friday, you can go into the study hall room and get caught up on homework. If you need a one-on-one redirective conversation about your behavior, that's had in study hall. So our students understand that, and I am a firm believer that since since we instituted Fun Friday, we have had a lot more kids meet those academic goals and cultural goals, and thus Fun Friday has engulfed 2 classrooms, and we've used our gymnasium area as a study hall. Things that I would do differently, I would so towards the end of my lesson, I normally allow students to come up to the board and write down the different ways they found the answer. So that draw section and that equation section are two of the sections that we focus on. The sentence section we also focus on, but those are the two that I allow students to come up and draw. Um, and then write out the equation for the drawing that they have. But due to time, I just took the conversations I heard, transcribed the conversations on the board, and we kept it moving because I did want them to get to Fun Friday. It was another point in my video when we were talking about ways that we can make 18. So I would normally allow students to come up to the board or sit at their desk, and they can all randomly using their dry erase board or they notes randomly make um an array for the factors of 18, and then we would all share out, and then I would go into the spiel about the denominator determining the type of array that you had and what the correct array looks like, and we would just move on from there. So putting more of the learning and the responsibility on the scholar to produce and less on me. But I didn't mind picking up the slack this time because I did want to celebrate their successes this week to move on to Fun Friday. So I picked up a lot of the slack. But you will see on my other videos that I did and I do allow scholars time to come to the board, time to participate. I have guided practices groups. Um, just looking at the classroom environment, I have very colorful posters, change your mindset. I have an SEL learning corner. I have the school's mission and vision posted, along with the numbers on the wall. So sometimes we will utilize those numbers around our objectives. And if you think the answer is on number 3, I have all of the scholars go stand over by 3. I have scholars stand over by 1. It's numbers all around the room that they can stand by. Um, and this is my reflection. So I think my goals was student interaction. I think one of my goals was the ability to do MVP, which is movement, voice, and praises. So I don't know if you noticed, like when students gave me an answer, whether it was correct or not, um, I told them they were absolutely right, or congratulations, or thank you for sharing. So I did some of those things. Um, I normally will call out students' name when they're on track and tell them, I say, Miss Allison, thank you for participating in this conversation. I see Mr. Shaw and I see Mr. Kathy. They immediately got started. So those are some of the things that I would have and I should have done in this video, but due to time and I did not. Um, so my goals would probably be timing, more student participation at the board. Um, yeah, and then making sure the CFUs are aligned to the lesson that we were doing. So those are my takeaways.